as a leader, I think it's important to remember it's not about me. And so when you think about we over me, what's the extension for the leader? I say it's not about me. Because as a leader, it's easy to get addicted to the me part of leading. Creating a culture that's acceptable, where you're not having people infighting or trying to push somebody aside so that they get the promotion, they get the raise, they get the recognition. When we're all on the same team truly, that's where that magic can happen.
Welcome to Encouraging Leaders, a podcast that exists to remind CEOs and aspiring CEOs that you're not alone. I'm Marc Reifenrath, and today we're joined by somebody who has breathed courage into me and to so many other leaders, Marc Reifenrath. Marc is the CEO and co-founder of Spinutech. It's a full-service digital agency. He and his wife, this is an interesting fact, he's the only person I know that has this. He and his wife actually survived an tornado. They had their whole house gone, and they survived to tell the story. And he is intentionally invested in his creating a world-class business culture. And he views that as the source for growth for the business. So I'm so excited about having this conversation. Marc, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah. I've been starting these conversations with the starting question. When did you as a leader realize you didn't have to or couldn't lead alone, that you needed help from others?
I would say a good piece of advice I got very early on, we needed a lawyer for something. And I don't even remember who it was, but they said, build your personal board of a good lawyer, a good CPA, and lean on those people. And we started the business when I was a junior in college. So I was 22, I think. Yeah. So I leaned into that. We got a great lawyer that was very open with us. All these people that we found ourselves, I think it was a lawyer, a CPA, and an insurance person. And I still talk to several of those people to this day that I would call for advice on that. So I think very early on, we were very okay with leaning into other people. And then as you grow, the delegation question comes up, and you have to, they say that about an entrepreneur. Oh, the hardest thing to do is to delegate. And I thought I did it when I gave up QuickBooks. But little did I know that was the first of hundreds of things I needed to delegate and continue to do it. You just got to keep cutting deeper and deeper. So I would say at different times, it's definitely come up louder. And I also am a big believer in not being the smartest guy in the room. Surround yourself with super smart individuals that can help you. And so we've done a good job of hiring really sharp individuals on our team.
Yeah. So it was early in your walk. You basically at 22, you started the company, and somebody gave you some piece of advice there and said, get yourself some helpers and make sure that they can speak into you, let them speak into you and teach you and counsel you and coach you. Yeah. That set the stage for a beautiful start. I love that. If you think back on who was it that's one of the most encouraging leaders in your life, a coach, a mentor, somebody that's poured in, a specific person?
Yeah, I reflect on this often, and I think back to even my dad was a superintendent in the school system, and I would hear him talk about different things. He would walk the buildings, and I would see him do this because I was in school. Yeah. And at some point it came up of, why do you do that? And it's easy to be unseen if I just sit in my office and don't go and be with everybody. And so I get to see the students, I get to see the teachers, the janitors, everybody. And it creates the situations you have a conversation that was unscripted, unplanned, and you learn a lot in doing that. And so there's little things like that from my dad. Even though it wasn't a business, he did a good job of running it like a business where it should be, and humanized it where it should be as well. But so that's definitely one that I probably find myself leaning on more unconsciously than I realize, little things from him. And then from there, it's a long line of many individuals that have crossed paths with, just like with you pick up one little nugget from somebody. So I've never had a mentor as much as a lot of really great people in my life that give me little nuggets here and there. And I try to capture those and not afraid to take those and give credit where credit's due. But you can learn from anybody.
Yeah, it's so cool that you had a dad who was willing to, he was present for your life, and he was actually letting you see him in his life and his leadership. It is definitely the same thing. Leadership is leadership across the board. And so he was leading and he was demonstrating that, and you could see that. And so what an encouraging story to be able to rely on more heavily and heavily. It also set up a stage for you to be able to learn from multiple folks, and you can pick up things easily. And I call it being coachable, like being able to have others speak into my life. And I think I struggled with it. I did have it, but then I got to a point where I was like, oh, wait a minute. I think I'm supposed to have all the answers. And you mentioned not having to be the smartest person in the room. in school, it felt like that was what we were supposed to do.
Yeah.
And you get out and you're saying you don't want that anymore. How do you help other leaders get over that? Because you got over it early.
I'm a big believer in leading by example. And so not being afraid to be vulnerable and say, I'll use this expression, and it's so timeless, from Abraham Lincoln. And that guy went through some stuff, right? He dealt with some pretty sticky situations and a lot of heavily charged political situations. And he would say, when somebody disagreed with him or he didn't agree with their views, he would say, I don't agree with it or I don't like it, but I would like to learn more. Yeah. And what a great and powerful statement. It's so true today even. It's important that we understand the why nots or the disagreement, misalignment more than the people that agree with you. And so I think just having this open mind, a lifelong learner, I love to learn, being very open to opposing opinions, challenging, views. I think that's where the magic happens, is because none of us are right. There's multiple ways to be right. And so when we come together and make something better, if an idea starts here and we can grow it into something really big. In my history, that's always come from what I've thought was the best idea ever. And then the team went and made it 10 times better. And it went to a place I couldn't even dream of. And that's so powerful. And when you unlock that by leading that way and maybe explaining to people what happened, listen, this started as this little seed, this mustard seed that now has turned into this beautiful plant and this huge idea. I think the other part of this, I'll say, is creating a culture that's acceptable, where you're not having people infighting or trying to push somebody aside so that they get the promotion, they get the raise, they get the recognition. When we're all on the same team, truly, that's where that magic can happen.
So you've had so many experiences now that you've seen over and over again, that you've put an idea out there and then it gets 10 times better whenever the team gets it and takes a hold of it. It's not yours, it's theirs, it's ours, it's collective. And that reinforces that pattern. I love just the story back to Abraham Lincoln, the idea that I may not like what I just heard, but I really want to understand it. And seeking understanding, curiosity, you can gain so much. You can learn so much. If I go in with one thought and somebody else has a different thought, and I spend the time to understand what their thought pattern was, I can then learn and grow from that. If I just say, I don't like it, I don't want it, I'm right, you're wrong, I don't grow at all. So
you've probably seen this happen in real life. In a leadership meeting, if we're ideating, we're discussing something, if I speak up too soon and even share my view, I've instantly reshaped how everybody's going to answer. And so learning and having the patience to stay quiet, let them discuss, and they may arrive to exactly what I was thinking on their own, or they may go in someplace way different that is way better. But if I'm always the first to speak and say, that's a good idea, that's a bad idea, what happens over time? They're less likely to give you their opinions, their ideas, or to challenge your thoughts and ideas, creating a comfortable space where that happens. Because I always tell them, I remind them, we pay you a lot of money. I want truth tellers around me. And it's my expectation that you do these things. So I think setting that tone, otherwise, why do it? Like, why surround yourself with really expensive people if you're not truly going to take their ideas and all you want is people to validate? You can get that way cheaper.
I love that. I've got a friend who's Gary Ridge, this is Alec, the soul-sucking CEO, and he adds value all the time. He basically says things first, last, in between, shuts down conversations. He had a biting tongue syndrome. He had to figure out how to bite his tongue because he wanted to add value. I can feel it. It's one of the hardest things for me to stop, is just shut up and stop talking, listen, and then see what they come up with. And I'm amazed at what they can come up with if I just will shut my mouth. And you've done that more naturally. It sounds like it was more of a natural thing for you.
It's learn. I mean, you learn. I mean, there's, maybe when you spoke up one time and you're like, I think I inadvertently shut somebody down or made them feel like that wasn't a great idea. Like, there's no bad ideas, right? Letting people speak freely is where the power comes. So I would say I've refined it over time, because I love to spar and go back and forth on idea. And so it is hard for me still to hold back, just be quiet and let it go a little bit further before I speak. Sometimes you do have to, if you see it going down a path that's maybe less productive, stepping in and being like, all right, let's pull back over here. As a leader, you just can't cheat time. I know a lot of people wish I could. I know when I was younger, thought I could, but just experience does give you a lot of perspective that is really powerful in these micro moments where you don't even realize you're subconsciously doing things and making decisions based on all those previous experiences.
Encouraging the leaders to be able to be more patient and more calm and more allow for more space for others to share is normally the challenge with the folks who I get to work with, because they're CEOs and they're working hard and they want to grow and they want to charge and they think their job is to add value all the time. And so that actually holding back that habit has been part of the challenge of growth, and it leads to growth of the team and health of the culture. I have seen your culture from afar, but I got to do a little research as I was just thinking about this conversation, and I see your values there, the 4 values that you've got now actually branded and able to articulate them and visualize them. Tell me about values and how you use those to coach or fine-tune behaviors inside or hire or fire. Or how do you use those?
So what's been awesome over the past 24 years is watching these values, even when they weren't identified and written like they are today, that they have gotten louder and bolder and just in your face. And it's a part of our everyday lives at work. So it's everything from our Slack channel when we give shout outs, if there's always a core value associated with a hashtag. I like to say we hire, fire, lead, manage, make decisions using our core values. It's a really simple equation when you think of it that way. And so if there's something that's a little bit off, or even when you're making tough decisions, the team will say, let's do this in alignment with our core values, or I like that. That feels like us. That feels like it's our core. We're not doing something, and sometimes when you get a little bit off, you'll be like, yeah, but wait a second. That doesn't align with who we are. We work with clients, and clients are squirrely and they can do not the kindest things. And so it's easy to have that reaction of, oh, I'd love to do X, but you know what? No, we're going to apply X core value and do it this way and remind ourselves. And the team, I don't even have to say it anymore. They will automatically inject that naturally and organically into a conversation, which is just beautiful. And I can get emotional about that because it's so powerful to watch the team and how much they have turned into meaning for them as well. And so that's really fun.
It's a self-coaching system now. All the leaders are capable of coaching each other, coaching themselves, coaching clients, coaching each other on the values because they're inherent. They've done it so often that they become part of who they are and who we are collectively.
The first one is we get better every day. That's the lifelong learner mentality. Then it's we do the right thing. I like to say we do the right thing even when nobody's looking, even when it's the hard thing. This comes up a lot, and it's a very easy thing for people to reflect on. And then we over me, this is all about being a team member or a team player, not an individual in kind of the corporate ladder climbing. And then we own it, meaning you own your desk, you own your decisions, you own your work, and you own your deadlines and owning everything about what you do to be the best team member that you can. I'm intentional about words. Employee to me doesn't work for our organization. Team member does. And we over me is that I'm not trying to do things that are just good for me, but I'm doing what's best for we, which is the team, the clients, all of those things. It's so simple, but yet super, super powerful.
Yeah, team over I, we over me. I just love the simplicity there. Operationalizing them to the point where people can understand what they look like inside of your culture. And I love that you've chosen ones that are unique for you and that you can actually have people talking about them and using them. It really is the way that you as a CEO get to step up into the next level of role and be able to spend more time on vision and strategy. And you can keep on thinking about more and further out.
Right. A personal value, and it's a saying that I tell myself as a leader and just as a person frequently. This happens to me every day, or I say it every day. As a leader, I think it's important to remember it's not about me. And so when you think about we over me, what's the extension for the leader? I say it's not about me. Because as a leader, it's easy to get addicted to the me part of leading. And reminding yourself, though, that's not what I'm here to do. I'm not here to project an alter ego or power or whatever it might be. And if we're all honest, that can rear its head in leadership in different phases, right? And so reminding yourself, I like to on a daily basis in all situations, it's not about me. And trying to make sure that is present for me.
You've got your internal team, and the we over me is so critical, and you've got that culture. And then I know you're part of YPO as well, Young Presidents Organization. What does the broader community do for you? How does that help you as a leader?
YPO has been, I don't know how to summarize it other than just life-changing. I'm guessing it's been similar for you, but everything from forum with like-minded individuals that are facing the same challenges and opportunities that I am, to a few weeks ago, I was in Barcelona for the Global Marketing Summit, and meeting people from all around the world and having really good conversation that's really deep, really quick, and you learn, you get better. And so it's hard to put it all into words because it has pushed me in personally, professionally, as a father, as a husband, like in all facets of life, it is there to help you. And I've taken full advantage of that. And there's a joke about YPO. If you're at a bar, you say, how do you know who's in YPO? Don't worry, they'll tell you. And I believe it because I unconsciously talk about it a lot because it's that big of a deal to me and has had that big of an impact. So I love connecting with other YPOs. If somebody should be in it, I'm very quick to tell them all the reasons they should. And so I call it a cheat code because we met, I think, over Microform via YPO, which is a half hour to an hour meeting where you meet random people. And I love those because I might be able to help you right now, a year from now, 5 years from now. But you build that network that, for me, being from the Midwest, my world was very small 10 years ago. Now I know people literally across the globe and very much even wider within the States. And so that's hard to put a thing on. And somebody has always been through what you're going through. So if you're willing to be vulnerable and reach out and say, hey, Mark, I'm going through X. Have you ever dealt with this? And you say, yes. And you're excited to share and help with nothing expected in return. And that is the power of it. And so I have definitely leaned into that and also been able to help people. And it's rewarding both ways.
Yeah, no, it's so rewarding. You mentioned in our prep discussions, The Go-Giver, the book, The Go-Giver, and it's just, that's what I hear coming out of you. You love the fact that you give so much and you get so much in return. It's just like this mutually beneficial network of folks that can give to each other and without requiring anything in exchange. And the depth of conversation, I think that's what, in our microforum, I remember getting deep pretty quickly, and we're sitting there talking and I'm like, I like this guy. I want more of him. And I want to know more about his business. I want to know more about his life. How does he build it? What does he do? And so it's just so fun. When I thought about who I would like to have on the podcast, I was like, I would love to talk with Mark. And you spell your name with a C, which makes it really a special connection. Last question for you as we wrap up. I'm just thinking about, if you could go back, you started this business as 22-year-old. It's a fast, early start. And if you could go back to the younger self when you're there, what piece of advice would you say, hey, this is what I would do?
So this is definitely a question I've had before. And I think I would tell myself to trust my gut sooner. I think there was easily the first 5 years where I would feel it and then go against it. And it would always be right. In reflection, it would always be right. But I didn't think that I had the experience or had been doing it long enough, or I was dealing with people twice my age potentially. And I literally would get asked at the local high school, are you in CF High? And I would jokingly say I'm a sophomore just to mess with them back. But so I think I didn't have that confidence. And so I think trusting yourself, trusting your gut. I love the saying, why not us? Why not now? Or not. And that's very true. Like, we didn't believe in ourselves for those first couple of years because we didn't know if we could or should or would. And then we did, and you get a little more confidence. And all of a sudden there's this, it goes off and you're like, things are changing. People are hearing us. They're listening, and we have a little more clout. And so I would just trust my gut sooner.
Yeah, I love that. The authentic you is inside. You can just believe in it and keep on walking. Just be yourself and go. And there's so many people holding themselves back. I think about my job at Encouraging Leaders. All we're trying to do is to unlock what's already inside and get them to be okay with who they are and actually executing and leading well. And then how do you do that skillfully? You've done it. You said it. You're building a culture of that. And how do you do that is tough. There's not a lot of organizations. You're at about 179 folks now?
Just shy of 160 right now, yeah.
160. Not many people grow an agency to 160. And that takes a lot of learning and a lot of growth and a lot of trusting yourself. So I love that one. If you are listening today, thank you for listening. And if you're interested in learning how to grow a business or grow in both purpose and profit, is what we work to do quite a bit at Encouraging Leaders, would happily connect with you, spend 15 minutes and just learn about what you're doing and connect you with people like Mark, because they can help you as well. And Mark, thank you so much for taking the time. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you. It was really fun. I appreciate it.